Best Irish music on irishradio.org with Jerry Byrne.
Irish Radio, I'm Jerry Byrne. Since COVID began and all the rest of it, speaking to many of the great and the good now, I've spoken to this lady back in 25th of May of last year. It was the early days, if we look at it, as COVID and all the rest. Spoke to her about her musical career and all the rest. She's had a busy year recording and releasing material and doing Facebook Lives and all the rest of it, and certainly getting a lot of attention in music from Enniscorthy in County Wexford. I'm delighted to say hello to Michelle Murphy. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, Jerry.
Great to speak to you, Michelle.
Look, it's lovely to be back on with you today, and I have to say, when you say that it's the 25th of May since we spoke last, I just think to myself, where has that year gone? It's just after flying by, and nobody has been anywhere. It's unreal.
Indeed. So it's it really is. It's almost a year or 3 months since I spoke to you last, and at that stage, we were all in the depths of COVID, and unfortunately, we're still not just quite out of it as yet.
We're not, Jerry. No, unfortunately. I suppose when we spoke the last time, everyone was hoping that maybe in another 3 months, in another 6 months, things will be after coming back around and we'll be back out as we were before. But unfortunately, this pandemic virus, it's taken longer than anyone anticipated to move on. So I suppose it's beginning to open up slightly on the entertainment scene here with the introduction of maybe outdoor gigs and driving gigs and that. But obviously it's not what we would have hoped for. But at this stage, you'll have to just take what we can do at the moment, and that's what we're at.
Indeed. Now, in the lockdown and all the rest, you released a couple of singles which did extremely well for you.
I did. I was fortunate in a way that when we had a slight break in the pandemic and we were allowed to travel a bit, and I got to record a few singles, which in turn tied me over when the next lockdown came. I had those to release. So I suppose, yes, I released Birmingham Jail the end of the year 2000, and the 8th of March then gone out, I released I Don't Want to Talk It Over, which was a Connie Smith number. And that really it's done really, really well for me. Of course, it was number one kind of right across the board on iTunes and on your own chart there and here at home and the ICMR charts and whatever. So it was number one for 5 weeks for me, which, like, during the pandemic, that was just unreal to get to that stage and whatever. And there in July, on the 12th of July, I released a lovely Shuni Crampsey number, one called Don't Forget Your Dancing Shoes. And I'm delighted that it's doing very well as well. It went to number one on iTunes, and it was number one on the ICMR charts this morning. And I know it's doing good in your charts there as well. So I suppose it's been in kind of a roller coaster of a year, in that, yes, I definitely missed the live shows. I missed the people. I missed everything like that. But I was very fortunate that the singles continue to do well, and it's with the help of yourselves, like all the radio airplay, and of course the people for supporting the artists and whatever as well. So I'm quite delighted at that now, to be honest, and I'm looking forward to going back into the studio in the next week or two. I'm halfway through the second album, so I suppose I'm keeping busy in preparing for when things do lift, that hopefully we can get back out, all systems go, and I hope to have a new album out for Christmas. Please God, that's the hope anyway.
Well, that's excellent. Excellent. You certainly haven't been sitting idly by. You've been doing all you sort of can in the situation that it was. But I can't say that those singles have gone an absolute storm. And I'll have to say, from the pen of Shuni Crampsey, a true master songwriter.
Oh, I was very fortunate. I worked with Shuni on a concert in Kilbeggan one night, and I got talking to him, and I would love his music, and he's a fine musician, and overall he's just a gentleman. One of the gentlemen that you could meet. And I said to him, I'd love to record one of the songs, and he said, record whatever you want. And Dancing Shoes, it stuck in my head, and I suppose no more than anyone else, I love dancing as well, Jerry, and people over here will be familiar to see me on a dance floor. If I'm not out singing myself, I love to go and support the other acts, and I do love the dancing. So I said, don't forget your dancing shoes. That's all. We're all wanting to get back on the dance floor. And I said, look, we'll go with that one. So, and I love it. And it's a lovely upbeat number. And I know Shuni was delighted with the job I did on it as well. So that meant a lot to get, that compliment from him as well,
Indeed, so now you have done some live shows as of this year. I saw a video of you actually. You were performing on a rather breezy evening with Alistair Fingleton on the keyboards.
That's right. Alistair is with me with two-piece and that. So we've done some outdoor gigs, as I have told you, that's going on here now, drive-ins and whatever. And the clip I think you're on about is last Friday night. We did a show in Rascormick, which is just about 12 to 14 miles outside of Carrigon Shore. And it was a miserable, cold and wet evening. And the wind, I tell you, so I was laughing because I started off the show as you would, in the nice clothes and looking well. And by the end of the night, I had a pink fleece. I was like a teddy bear on the stage now, to be honest. But needs must, the show had to go on and we were frozen. But look, it went on and the people came. They sat around. Obviously, it was in a kind of a garden, a park, a small park, I suppose. And they had their tables and they were doing their social distancing and whatever. But I just said to them at the end of the show, fair play, because they had came along and sat out in that evening, But I spoke to them after the show and it just really, made me realise how much people have been starved of company, entertainment, and in general, just very simple things as in sitting down and talking to people or whatever. Because I mentioned to them at the end of the show, and I was speaking to someone, and I just said, thank you so much for coming out, on such a night. And they said, well, we've cocooned. I've spent 6 to 7 months not seeing anybody. And this is a little bit of normality back after almost 2 years out of their lives. And, I just said then, this pandemic, when you sit down and think of it, this has really cost people valuable time. And I see now that the least little bit of music or the mention of a bit of live music anywhere, even if it's only to go and sit and listen to it, Jerry, they're so grateful and they sit and they enjoy it so much. So, it's fantastic and it's an opportunity for us to get back on stage and do what we love doing. And it's an opportunity for the people to come out and hear the bit of live music, interact with people, and I suppose just experience a nice hour or two again.
Indeed so, and that of course is one of the things with the it's not alone the music, and the singing and all that, which is which is huge, but it's also the social interaction and being able to to see people once again, people that haven't seen each other like in a year and a half at this stage.
Well, that's exactly it, Jerry, and really when you say social dancing, it is exactly that. It is a social meeting. For some people, going to a dance maybe once or twice a week might be the only time that they're going to see somebody, have a chat with, have a talk with, catch up on what went on during the week. So I think more so even than the dancing, I think it's actually the social aspect is what people are missing, and we're missing most of all with the music, And it was just lovely to see, them back, and even for myself, from my own point of view, it was so nice to meet people that I hadn't seen in a year and a half. And even I just said, this is lovely to get to talk to people again and that. So look, it's different. And as I spoke to you earlier on, I think for the next while, we're going to have to just approach the music maybe a bit differently, and we'll have to just still have our music, but we'll have to do it just in a different way until we get a little bit further along the line in this pandemic. So I think if it's going to be the drive-in shows or that will be the way. Unfortunately, the weather will play a havoc with it, and I suppose that's going to be the downfall for here anyway. The weather is very unpredictable, so you might find that everything is booked and then you could get a phone call to say, look, we can't go ahead that night. But that's going to be part and parcel of it, and I think for the next while people will have to understand that this can happen,
Indeed so. Indeed so. That's just as I say, the nature of the beast and the way that it is. But, things are getting better. They're certainly better, a lot better than they were when we spoke back in May last year.
Oh, there are. I mean, there's positivity, and there's, people are looking forward again. Even for the other artists, and even for myself. I mean, I'm due to go to Blackpool in September with Jerry Flynn, and I'm really hoping that that's going to go ahead. It's been cancelled on us twice, and it's a weekend of country and Irish music. So I'm hoping that's going to go ahead. Of course, you have to be hopeful, and then there's several other tours coming up as well. I know there's Spain and whatever. Unfortunately, I know everyone is saying, well, maybe it won't go ahead and we'll have to wait and see. Well, yes, but there's positivity there. There's hope. There's people are looking forward to going, and I think what is going to happen, Jerry, is people are going to have to get a little bit more confident about maybe travelling and about going out into the venues. And that will come, I think, as the weeks and the months go ahead. Vaccinations, we're well up to date on them. And I think it's just going to take that little bit of time now for people to just trust the vaccine and continue on with the restrictions, as in, what we're all being told to do. And hopefully then people will start to come back out, and we can introduce a little bit more as the days and months ahead go on,
Indeed. Now, another feature of what you did during all the lockdowns was you did plenty of songs, on Facebook Lives.
I did, yes, I did. The challenge is what I spoke to you about before, and I come on every now and then, and I do a number and whatever, and I do a bit there for Sunshine TV. It goes into the nursing homes here, and for the elderly in their homes and that. And that was great. I got great. I made great fan base, to be honest. It's the power of the social media that introduced me to people all over, and definitely has increased, the amount of people that are following me and that. So I've done a good bit on the Facebook and that since I spoke to you last. And I also took on presenting just a show myself on a radio here on Cork Music Station. So again, it's a way of just keeping me out with the people, mixing with the people, and involved in the whole music scene as well. So I suppose, as you say, I haven't sat down. I've been busy during the pandemic and during the time off and whatever. So I'm hoping it will stand to me when things lift and that. And look, at everything you do, it's it has to come into play somewhere down the line. So I'm hoping that all these things will benefit me when I get back out there.
Indeed, Michelle. Listen, it's been great to catch up with you again. Great to speak to you again. Well done on everything you've done, on everything you're doing. And fingers crossed that as soon as it's safe to do so, I'll be able to catch up with you on stage someplace along the way.
Jerry, I would love that. I have to say, I'd actually love to get the chance to perform, over there with ye and on some stage. And look, as I say, we have to be positive and we have to look forward. It's be baby steps, but we have to start somewhere. So I really look forward to getting over there to you at some stage and performing and meeting with the people and that. So look, and as always, thank you so much for having me on. I'm continuing to work away. As I said, I'm recording away. I'm halfway through the second album. So look, we'll keep the head down and we'll keep working, Jerry. And what more can we do? And just wait for this whole thing to pass over, and then we'll kick our heels up and dance all night away.